Hey there. Sometimes after people learn about brain bookmarks, they ask a very practical question. When exactly am I supposed to use this? Because most people assume it is something you only do at the end of the day. But brain bookmarks are actually helpful throughout the day, especially if your job involves constantly shifting between responsibilities. And that is true for many helping professionals like educators and coaches and medical professionals, even mental health professionals, people working in human services, people whose days are filled with conversations, decisions, and responsibilities that don't always end neatly when the workday ends. Hi, I'm Dr. Cheryl, and much of the work I do focuses on helping professionals who care deeply about their work. These are individuals who spend their days solving problems and supporting others and carrying a lot of responsibility, but often they find that their mind keeps working long after the workday ends. That experience actually has a name. Sometimes we describe it as mental carryover. And that's when unfinished work continues occupying your attention even after the workday ends. And researchers often refer to it as attention residue, when part of your attention stays attached to a previous task. One simple practice that can interrupt that pattern is something I call a brain bookmark. A brain bookmark is just one clear sentence that marks where your mind can return to later. Instead of carrying that unfinished work in your mind, you leave yourself a clear place to resume. And that one sentence can make a bigger difference than most people expect. So in this video, I want to walk through 7 moments during a typical workday when a brain bookmark can actually help you to leave work at work. So let's imagine the rhythm of a normal workday. The first moment a brain bookmark can help often appears right at the beginning of the day. Sometimes the hardest part of work is simply deciding where to begin. So your mind may be looking at several responsibilities all at once. A brain bookmark can clarify that starting point. For example, an educator preparing for the day might write, drafting an outline will organize the key ideas for tomorrow's lesson. Okay. A coach preparing for a client session might write, reviewing the client's previous notes will guide today's session. Or a nurse may begin or begin their documentation, and they may write, updating the patient chart will clarify the next steps. That one sentence helps your brain to see the entry point into the work. Another moment when a brain bookmark helps is when you finish something. Your brain benefits from a clear signal that the task has reached a stopping point. For example, a teacher might write, lesson plans finalized and uploaded to the shared drive. Or a client intake notes completed and entered into the system. That sentence tells your brain the task has been handled for now. A third moment appears when you pause a task. Not everything gets finished in one sitting. Sometimes you pause something so you can move to another responsibility. And without a marker, your brain may continue tracking that unfinished work. A brain bookmark can capture the next step. For example, the next step is reviewing the data before writing the summary. Or the next step is calling the housing office tomorrow morning. Now your brain knows where the work will resume. And remember that each of these bookmarks, and I'm using what I call note takers, because that's what's going to be sitting right in front of me, whether it's on my desk, or it's in my journal, or it's a note that I put in my iPad. But I have a clear marker that tells me where I will resume the work that I'm doing. So another bookmark, which is our fourth one, often shows up when we're switching between tasks. Helping professionals do this constantly. A teacher might move from grading over to lesson planning, and a nurse might move from one patient to another patient. A counselor might move from one client session to the next one. And without those clear transitions, your mind may keep holding on to the previous task. A brain bookmark can help release the mental carryover. For example, working on a budget budget spreadsheet updated through March and ready for review. That sentence marks where the work stands so your attention can move forward. All right, we are ready for the fifth moment, and that appears when you feel stuck. Instead of forcing yourself to solve everything immediately, you can leave a clear step. So, that example is if I get stuck again, I will review the original notes. Or if I get stuck again, I will revisit the client's goals. That sentence gives your mind a path forward. The sixth moment shows up when something remains incomplete. Sometimes the workday moves faster than the task list, and you may stop working on something before it is finished. Without a clear marker, your brain may keep treating the task as unfinished pressure. A brain bookmark can acknowledge progress and define the next step. For example, and our example is outline the first section and we'll draft the introduction tomorrow. That sentence helps your brain recognize movement instead of unfinished stress. And then our final one is there is the moment most people recognize immediately, the end of the workday. You close your laptop, you leave your office or step away from your desk, but your mind may still be holding on to that unfinished responsibilities. Before ending the day, write one final brain mark. For example, client's notes completed, and tomorrow I will continue the follow-up appointment. When your brain knows where the work will resume, it no longer has to keep tracking it. So in this video, we walked through 7 moments during a typical workday when a brain bookmark can help. Moments when you are starting something, moments when you finish something, and moments when you pause or switch a task or feel stuck or reach the end of the day. Each of those moments give you an opportunity to leave yourself one clear sentence, not a long note, not a complicated system, just one sentence that marks where your mind can return to later. That single sentence can help your brain to release the task for now. And over time, those moments of clarity begin to add up. Less mental carryover, more usable attention, and a greater ability to truly leave work at work. Because sometimes the difference between carrying your work home in your mind and ending the day with a little more peace is simply this one sentence that tells your brain you can rest for now. I know where to begin tomorrow. With that, I'll see you in the next video.